Alright, I'm good whenever you are.
Well, howdy friends and neighbors. My name is Jerry Tindell. I want to welcome you to some training tips. We're at the Tindell Ranch here today. I've got a little long yearling here that I'd like to work with, a couple little exercises for you that we've had some questions about that are pretty common, and yet they need to have a little bit of attention. Before we get into that, I would like to break down the parts of the horse that we're going to be talking about today. So if we break it down into big training blocks today, we'll be able to bring it into more minute blocks later. But for today, I want to talk just briefly about how we're going to be looking for what we're moving. So the first thing I want to talk about is their head and their neck. We're going to be looking at that pretty detailed. The next thing we're going to talk about is this front shoulder, the front feet. And then we're going to go right to the hind quarters. So we're going to talk and break that down for you a little bit. Now the exercise today that I've had a question about is about leading and about the horse that goes past us or maybe crowds us when we lead. There's two parts to this exercise that we're going to need to talk about that we can help the horse with. And it goes back to my 6 steps of the groundwork that you're going to find out in all of these little things we're going to fix today or address are going to be used in those 6 steps. They're briefly covered as this. So back up, shoulder control, forward flexion, hind quarter control, stop, and stand. So today we're going to work on 4 steps. Backing them up, stepping them over, the front quarters and the hind. Then we'll talk a little bit about that control. So here we go. So the first thing I'll do is I'll ask this young horse to back up. So as I raise my halter rope, take the slack out, I'd like those feet to come back. They don't need to be fast today, they just need to move. The second thing I'm going to do, and I've taught him this a little bit already, we're going to step the front quarters over. This is just the front feet. So we're going to step those front quarters over. You can see he kind of steps over pretty nicely, and then we'll step him forward. Now all the steps that we're going to talk about today are built into this program. So as he walks forward, he's flexed, he's pretty nice. Now we would do this at great length when we're in a session, but for today I want to just talk a little bit about what you'd look for. Here's my stop, tip his nose, he rolls the hind quarters. So I'm going to go ahead and go through that again one more time on side 2, then I'll show you how I would expect him to lead. You'll notice I backed him up there. That's my job. He does not get to creep. When you guys tell me your horses crowd you, I'll tell you that you've let them creep before. So the backup fixes that. Here's my backup. Very nice. Step over to the left. Front quarters. Step forward for flexion. Now in this flexion drill, this is where we build our softness. Now here's the hind quarters. Tip those hind quarters. They step under nice and fluid. He gets to stop and stand. He licks his lips. Those are all the pieces. Now what I'd like to do is I'll talk to you about the leading and putting the back up and the shoulder together. So here's my shoulder control, and here's my circle. Now I take that into my leading position, and I'll come towards you to show you that. So once I start my circle, I change my hand position. So this would go to my leading position here. Now when he crowds me, or he won't really do that, but when he goes ahead of me, I would step him back. Then I take and step him over like that, and that teaches him position. So as we look at that real closely, like if you have a horse that goes ahead of you too much or they get afraid, they jump and get a little nervous or spooky, you can go back up, step back, step over. See, that's so nice and light. It allows the horse to have a job. It allows you to have total control. So we go back and look at, here's the hind quarters, here's the back up, here's the front quarters, and here's my forward circle. Here's my stop and back up. Nope, not sideways, step back. Doesn't matter if he gets a little crooked at this point. It's a matter of how he follows the feel of my rope, how he starts to follow my feel. So here I would change my hand, step him back, step him over. Very nice. Hind quarters, front quarters, forward flexion, step up, ask him to come up. Whoa. There you have it.